of the Beaches Museum, and it's my honor and pleasure to welcome and thank you for joining us today for this long-awaited debate. And to see so many of you here just really makes that ring true. I want to acknowledge a few of our special guests this morning. We have Mayor Ellen Glasser, who is the mayor of Atlantic Beach. Mayor of Jacksonville Beach, that's me, Chris Hoffman. I'm not going to not. Brittany Norris, who is a commissioner on the Atlantic Beach City Commission, who you're going to hear from in a moment. Thank you, Brittany. My friend Henry Flagler, who is the president of.
You weren't supposed to touch it.
We're at a campsite, so we got to. Lily Sullivan, who is the president of the Rhoda L. Martin Cultural Heritage Center. Thank you for being here, Lily. Victoria Albright, who is the park manager for Hanna Park. I'm going to go ahead and give you credit for the great weather. Beautiful venue. We have several of our Beaches Museum board members. I think Scott, Margie, Katie, thank you all for being here. And we are just so honored to have all of you gathered here today. The mission of the Beaches Museum is to preserve and share the distinct history and culture of the Beaches area. And I cannot point to a better example of this than the work that the museum has done to help uncover and share the many stories of Manhattan Beach. And when I say museum, I more specifically mean Brittany Cohill. So while she did not include herself in this list that she typed up for me to read, I would be remiss if I didn't specifically mention Brittany and the work that she did during her time at UNF Museum and now Jacksonville University to uncover and amplify the stories of this place that we see as now sand dunes. I'd like to welcome the other Brittany to the podium, Atlantic Beach City Commissioner Brittany Norris. Don't touch it. Like, are we electrocuted? A little exciting. So thank you guys so much for coming out and attending. I think we'll talk about this weather. It's morning, it's hot. It's breeze, it's beautiful. My name is Brittany Norris. I sit on the Atlantic Beach City represent a good portion actually of the neighborhoods of folks who would come and recreate here. First of all, I want to say thank you to the Beaches Museum, to the city of Jacksonville, and to the staff of Hanna Park for making this reality. The partnership is what drove this, and it's why we're here today. And it's fantastic that we capture stories like this. And there are people with the forethought and vision to do that type of work, so that when we come here, we can know about that story and know a piece of our history. So through their work, Manhattan Beach is going to be recognized through posterity through the state of Florida. There's historical marker that we're going to unveil later. But specifically, we want to thank Daryl Joseph and Jill Inns, who unfortunately could not join us today. But we do have Victoria Albright, who is right there. And she basically manages this whole part. So if you got questions, contact her photo and let her know there's been rumor. We're trying to find it. But yeah, so on behalf of sorry, I'm gonna tear up. But to their work, to their dedication, on behalf of the county, through all these things, thanks to them, we get to recognize this piece of history that has basically all been forgotten. When I first got on city commission, so I'm not native to the area. I came here to school years back, moved to Atlantic Beach, fell in love with the place, got involved, wound up somehow in city politics. And I don't even Brittany and the other Brittany, better Brittany, where is she? We were trying to remember earlier when we first met and when I first was able to hear this story. We couldn't remember it. It's been a while. This process has been happening for a while. The work has been happening for a while. But I do remember first hearing this story and being like, really? That story exists literally down the road. I've been to Hanna Park. Had no idea about that. Always thought it was happening at Hanna Park. Heard about American Beach, heard those stories, but the fact that something comparable, something that existed earlier, was here, and not even, it just forgotten. It fascinated me. And so I was super excited. I think I might have invited, I don't remember even asked you, I was like, we're going to tell everybody about this. So I remember we set up, we had a small event in Atlantic Beach, just invited some of the neighbors, some more folks who have stories connected to here, and just wanting to share this information. And it's been incredible, one, the number of people who had no idea that Manhattan Beach was alive, had no idea that this amount of Black history was a thing in Texas. And it was amazing. Like, kind of all in. I don't think I've met anyone who wasn't excited to learn this, wasn't excited to help and to see something happen. But I am not going to bore you any longer. I want to invite out Brittany Cohill, who has done such fantastic work, and I would say it's probably the source of this whole process. So come on up, Brittany. Today. My name is Brittany Cohill. For a number of years, I'm currently with Jacksonville University Department of History, Special. So this project is really just need to see it. And then story to shed light on experience. You know that this was not something that happened far off place. This might have happened right here in our backyard. I did want to recognize people. Can you hear me? My dad's calling.
A little louder.
Thanks, Dad. Dad. We're gonna dad. So Dr. is a professor of history at Jacksonville University and also the department chair. And my boss, whenever I say that, it's true. He's a wonderful boss. Also, Dr. David Fortright, there he is. He is a professor of history emeritus from the University of North Florida. And it was my great honor to take several classes with him from my graduate years and my graduate years. And in fact, he very quickly, it was a very quick turnaround, I sent him the text that I had written for the historical marker and asked him if he would proofread it and edit it for me, which he was happy to oblige because he had done that many a times over the years to my papers. So if you have any issues with the way in which I members of the Wilson family who have been so putting the story together and putting the human face on it, the human face that still exists. Grandsons, Dr. Yvonne Hicks, who was the great grandniece of Mac Wilson. She was the first member of the Wilson family that I had to contact with. She just exploded. His grandfather was a local businessman in Jacksonville Beach during segregation. And Colonel Holmes and Dr. Hicks because of early presence in this project to develop a better understanding of segregation. And also someone who is tuning in with us virtually is Norma June Wilson Davis. She is the granddaughter of Malcolm Wilson. She's
She was just the work that she had done on the genealogy. She provided just. I'd like to thank everyone that is here for attending this and participating. Was many years in the making. In fact, I began this project in 2017 as part of my graduate studies. Outside the classroom, I delivered a number of public lectures, and the hope is that more people would come to Woodward. In 2019, I created a traveling exhibit, which most of you have seen. This was made possible through the partnership between the Beaches Museum and the Jacksonville Public Library. And then here, I gained approval from the city of Jacksonville and the state of Florida to place a historic marker here at the site. So, if you'll indulge me for a moment, I'd like to talk about a book that I read back in 2017 that inspired the pursuit of this state historical marker here in Front Beach. Maybe you'll want to read it. The book title is Discovering America's Great Forgotten History. It's by Andrew Carroll. And the book jacket of Here Is Where, it says, inspired to write this book after visiting the spot where Abraham Lincoln's son was saved by the brother of Lincoln's assassin. He wondered how many other unmarked places are there where intriguing events have unfolded and that we walk past every day, not realizing their significance. And indeed, Here Is Where is filled with historical anecdotes, intriguing events, mostly fleeting moments. And my reading of this book happened to coincide with a brief conversation that I had with a professor of mine who specializes in environmental history. And we were talking about Hanna Park. And he remarked, and I'm sort of paraphrasing here, it's unfortunate that the presence of Hanna Park obscures the history of Manhattan Beach. And so by this time, I lived in the Jacksonville-area just shy of 35 years, which I know is very hard to believe, considering I'm only 29. And I had never heard of Manhattan Beach. So if you had asked me then about the history at that moment in time, I would have been inclined to say, here is where Jacksonville investor Winthrop Bancroft owned 5 acres of coastal property and donated it to the city of Jacksonville in 1967. Here is where the city embarked on a major campaign to acquire nearly 450 more acres for park development. Here is where many people today escape the city or the suburbs in an effort to connect with natural Florida. But my professor was right. This completely obscures the history of Manhattan Beach and what this land and what this place meant to generations within the Black community. We now know that here is where, at the turn of the century, the 20th century, Black employees of the Florida East Coast Railway and Flagler's Continental Hotel spent much of their leisure time because beaches to the south were closed off to them. Here is where the spirit and resilience of the Black community thrived in the tightening grip of Jim Crow segregation. Here is where Black labor unions planned family outings for their membership. Here is where Black women's clubs were instrumental in organizing in politics and community welfare, hosted excursions during state and regional conventions. Here is where Dr. Eartha M.M. White held weeks-long fresh air camps for afflicted orphans and the elderly. Here is where the Black community was able to acquire land of their own. Henry Flagler's companies began to sell off their homes. Here is where the Black community realized their American dream. Here is where Black business owners like Black just one generation removed from the chains of enslavement, set up shop and enjoy the patronage of a growing Black middle and upper middle class. Here's where generations of families traveled from all points over the Southeast to enjoy a day at the beach with a view. But here is where wealthy venture capitalists and developers on the other side of the color line decided they wanted to construct a whites-only coastal resort community. Here's where, over the course of the 1920s and the 1930s, Black business owners and community leaders faced increasing harassment and violence and were barred from purchasing any more land at Manhattan Beach. Here's where Mac Wilson and his family were among the last holdouts in the face of anti-Black racism and growing pressure to abandon their claim to this land. Here's where Mac Wilson's place was burned to the ground in the 1930s. But here is also where we gather today to mark what is far more than just an intriguing or just a fleeting moment in history. When Mac Wilson's granddaughter, I deeply regret not being present for this wonderful occasion to honor my grandfather, Mac. It helps take away the sting of the injustice he suffered those many years ago. He called me his little chickadee, and in my heart, I know he will feel my spirit with him when he is so highly honored with this honor. No doubt the spirit of Mac James Wilson and all those who sought respite at Manhattan Beach are with us today. I have the great honor and privilege of inviting Mr. Kenneth Lassane to the podium. This is one of three remaining grandsons who are in attendance today, and Mr. Lassane will speak on behalf of the entire family.
First of all, I promise you will try. First of all, we'd like to thank all the city officials that are present with us today. The folks from the Beaches Museum, from Hanna Park, we've had any idea how long it has actually been. Uh-oh. How long it has actually been. To see what this is coming to reality is just, it's a blessing. It is such a wonderful, wonderful. Mac Wilson, my grandfather. He was born in Monticello, Florida, and when he became of age, he moved to Jacksonville to seek employment that he could provide for his family. He was a multi-talented musician, a singer with a big, bold voice. He was a barber, a cook, a hunter, and he developed the relation to being the best hunting guide in this region. I'll go back to that as well. When he arrived here, he secured a job at the old Union Terminal Railroad Station. And the job he had was as a red cap. And if you don't know anything about train stations and red cap, what they did is they assisted passengers in boarding and unboarding the train. But I told you he had a big, bold voice. He was elevated to the position of announcing the arrival and departure of the train. And this is before the advent of a PA system. No microphones can go bad over here. He did. Now, on the railroad line, there were many, many wealthy men who made the journey from New York to Florida to come down and have wonderful time. Among those men was one Henry Flagler. Yeah, Henry Flagler, Flagler College in St. Augustine, Flagler County, just south of St. John's County. Henry Flagler. And Mr. Flagler was an avid hunter. So he learned through talking with his fellow traveler that Mac Wilson was the best hunting guy. They met and they formed a long, close, and lasting reach. This is the way my granddad was able to secure land in Manhattan Beach. You see, he had a dream and a vision to build an oceanfront resort. And he did. This place is called Maxwell. It was a bathhouse where you could go in red bathing swimming suits to go out into the ocean. It was a dance hall, a restaurant, a barber shop, a game room, a bar, and we also provided lodging for Black people to come and experience and enjoy oceanfront living. It was legendary. The word got out about this place came not only from this region, but from all over the South, all over the United States, to experience Max Place. It thrived. But you know, during those days, during the 1920s and 1930s, there were some who did not want Black people on the ocean. They did not want Black people to come and enjoy what it is that we love so much here in the state of Florida. So, one day during the off season, someone came along, set fire to Maxwell, and burned it to the ground. Needless to say, he was angry. He was distraught. More than that, he was determined. He was determined to rebuild his dream. He was determined to rebuild his vision. My granddad was a very resourceful man. So he began the process of gathering the resources that would be necessary in order to rebuild it. When he got to the point where he had gathered enough resources to start the rebuilding process, he came to the authorities. When he got there, he was informed that his property had washed out to sea, and that his property, along with the entirety of Manhattan Beach, no longer existed. No longer existed. He died not long after that. and he died a broken man. That being said, Granddaddy Matt, we know what to do. Yeah. We have always been Manhattan Beach, and you. Oh, but now, and for generations that it has become, everybody knows that Manhattan Beach and Matt Wilson here, and you're here to stay. Hell yeah.
It's now time. What we've all been waiting for, the official unveiling of the state historical marker, recognizing the existence and the permanence of Manhattan Beach here at the site, recognizing the business owners and the families who are part of this history, and it will remain in perpetuity. I will see to that. It's time to do the unveiling. So I would like to invite up members of the family who intend to help.
Brittany, let's push this. You're good. We moved it now. Oh. So we're going to give you guys all some time to gather around the marker and take pictures and to read it. And please do take some time to read it. You also, by virtue of this being a historic marker, this will be on the Department of State's website. So if you're ever interested, I don't know about you, when I drive by a historic marker on the side of the road and it's too fast to read it, you can go onto this website and you can look up Duval County historic markers and pinpoint it right to this spot. And anyone in the world can read the words that are on this marker. And they are also going to be able to look at your social media later, because I think there's going to be a lot of this on social media. So what a moving program. Thank you to everyone involved that we've mentioned already. I want to also extend an appreciation to the City of Atlantic Beach, who helped us by providing the chairs for us today. And although we are not in Atlantic Beach, they are wonderful neighbors and have been great partners on this project. And Breezy's Coffee Shop in Jacksonville Beach, who provided the pastries. One of them was gluten-free, but I'm not going to tell you which one.
I want to encourage you to, if you haven't already had the chance to visit the exhibit, the traveling exhibit that has traveled here to Hanna Park, to enjoy each other's company and this beautiful place. Victoria, I know you're in charge around here. Can you turn the thermostat down just like 5 degrees? That'd be awesome. I'm sorry we didn't ask you that in the first place. But please take some time. Be careful up here with the wires and the chains, but come up, please read the marker, please take your photos, and again, just enjoy each other's company in this special place, and this place that is going to be marked forever with the history of Manhattan Beach. Thank you all, and please enjoy the rest of the day.